My lovely Cancer risings, this is your 2025 forecast. In this podcast, we are going to talk about the main events of 2025 and how these events are going to show up in your world. What energy is going to be present for you? Which areas of life are going to be most affected? This is what we are going to talk about in this podcast. And of course, I'm trying not to make this a long one, so you'll get the idea of what will occur. I'm not going to go into every little detail because there will be throughout the year a video for each one of these transits, these events that I'm going to talk about in this video. Now, if you are a Cancer sun, this is also your video. I would listen to this if I'd be a Cancer sun, but before you listen to this video, I would listen to the rising video. So if you are, Aries rising, listen to the Aries rising video first, because the rising energy is going to be predominant. It's going to be experienced in the physical world. It's going to show up very physically. And then the energy for the sun sign, so if you're a Cancer sun, this energy will still be present for you, but it will be felt very individualized. You know, some Cancer suns will feel it more than others. It all depends on, how you tap into this energy, like what consciousness level you come from. And by no means do I say that, this consciousness level is better than the other. It is just different. And so you will have a different experience. Now, without further ado, let's dive in because there's a lot to talk about. Generally speaking, 2025 is going to be a big year for all of us. We have a lot of shifts happening, a lot of energy shifts happening. Three major planets are changing signs this year. And then also, of course, Jupiter, like every year, is also going to change signs. Then on top of it, we have Venus retrograde, which is going to be profound for all of us when it comes to relationships, the relationship to self, worthiness, all those topics will show up. But then, yes, also the relationship that we have with others. And we're talking about one-on-one relationships here. Then we still have Mars in retrograde. And I will touch on Mars direct in this video as well. So Mars direct, or Mars will station direct on February 24th. So I will talk about this as well in this video. And then I will quickly mention the Mercury retrogrades and where they show up in your chart as well. Now, let's start with the nodal shift. Right, I totally forgot to mention that. Big one as well, very big. So the nodes are shifting signs this year, and this is going to occur very soon. I mean, I don't know when you listen to this. If you listen to this after the 12th of January, then the ingress of the nodes into Pisces and Virgo has already happened. Now, this is a shift that I find very profound because Pisces and Virgo are the energy of really finishing up something and moving on to the next plateau. Right? We are all in some area of life are going to move on to the next plateau, to the next level. Right? If you look at it from a perspective of a computer game, you reached the next level now. And in order to get in, to open the door, you might have to go through a few experiences. Let me call them experiences because I don't want to use the word challenges because that always has like this negative connotation. And I don't really want to look at it from the negative perspective because there's nothing negative about this, about having experience, about learning, growing, evolving. Now, for you, this transit, let me just check real quick. Where have I written this down? The notes. For you, this transit is going to affect the area of the 9th house and the 3rd house. So the North Node is going to move into your 9th house and the South Node is going to move into your 3rd house. Now, the whole focus, or the focus generally, is going to be on higher learning, traveling, and spiritual growth, but also integrating the lower mind. And what I mean by the lower mind is like basic learning, basic understanding of life, your basic understanding of life. You might change neighborhoods in the next 18 months. You might want to move away. You might feel the need to work something out with your immediate family members, siblings, aunts, uncles, even neighbors, neighborhood. Like that's going to be a topic where you will feel that something's got to give here. Something needs to be released in this area. The North Node in Pisces in your 9th house invites you to expand your horizons through spiritual studies or journeys. And by spiritual, I'm not talking about 12th house kind of spiritual. In the 9th house, we are talking about a more earthy understanding of God. Maybe you're going to be interested in joining a new religion, right? Maybe just studying religions might be of interest for you. Maybe you're traveling and you're getting to experience different religions. Doesn't mean that you have to join them, but you might be interested in learning and growing through that understanding. The thing that you also might want to release is overly analytical tendencies in your communication in general, the way you communicate with others, but also your local connections. Like that's why I mentioned earlier. Maybe you actually want to move away from where you're at. Maybe you're moving to a different country. Maybe that is something you're considering. Doesn't mean that you will move, but there's you think about it, and then maybe you think about what that actually means within you. What is, why do you need that? What's your why do you want to move away? What kind of growth are you looking for right now for yourself? What is your next level, your next plateau? This is also the axis where release is, it's not just obviously also always with the North Node and South Node, right? We were talking about releasing something, but this particular pairing is it's emphasizing that because we are talking about Pisces, right? But Pisces, we're elevating up or away from the density, right? Where are you too dense in your life? Where are you like just trying to hold on to something material? And I'm not saying you shouldn't be, holding on to anything material, because, we're living in a material world. But, where are you holding on to something material that is actually hindering you from growing? Having more of what you actually want. That can also be holding on to money in a way that is keeping you stuck then. You're not going to grow your finances because, and I know we're not in the finance houses here, but it doesn't matter. It's still money is a sign of a sign of the material world we live in. It's a big part of it. So, the understanding of where you're holding on to something that is, making you just stay in the same cycle over and over and over again. So the growth path here is exploring philosophies, traveling to inspiring places, or even studying mystical teachings. Because, like I said, the 9th house is not necessarily the house of spirituality, but Pisces is the spiritual sign, right? Pisces is. So Pisces in the 9th house, it's actually a really beautiful combination to have. Then Let's move on to Mars direct. What does that have in store for you? What can you learn throughout that transit? Now, the focus here is your personal power and your self-expression. As Mars ends its retrograde in your sign, you will feel like you're waking up from a deep, deep slumber. It's like finally you're waking up and you're like, what was that dream? What was going on there? Mars is in your first house right now. So this has been this has been a big transit. A big transit for you. Mars has been spending a lot of time here, and Mars is still going to spend a lot of time in your sign. So we're not out of it yet, right? Mars is still going to be here moving forward slowly, right? Like when it stations direct, the movement of the planet or the way we see the movement of the planet from Earth is slow, really, really slow. Now, the focus has been your identity and how you assert yourself. With the direct stationing motion, you'll regain confidence and you will feel ready to lead in your personal and professional life. And I say professional life because the connection between the first house and the 10th house, there's always this, there's a square, obviously, but there is this unspoken understanding between who you show up as and how you are seen by the world, right? And I think this Mars retrograde has really helped you understand better how to show up to be seen in the way you actually want to be seen. Now, let's talk about Venus retrograde. Venus is going to station retrograde on March 1st, and she will station retrograde in your, let me just look real quick what we are talking about here. In your 10th house. Now, this is a retrograde that covers 2 signs. So we're starting in Aries, and then we are moving back into Pisces. So we're starting March 1st, and then on March 27th, Venus is going to retrograde back into Pisces. Like I said, I believe that your public image and your professional life is going to be highlighted mainly here. Consider how your career aligns with your values, I would say, and whether adjustments are needed to achieve the harmony you're looking for. Venus retrograde in general is asking us to reassess our relationships. So existing relationships might face challenges. Again, I don't mean necessarily big problems. I mean just the understanding of, okay, where are we going together here? Are we going together anywhere? Or what are we doing? Because the retrograde is always a moment in time where we look at where we're at and where we want to go, right? Like, are we growing? Are we growing together in the relationship? But that also means you got to look at yourself, right? Your own life, you individually. Where are you going? Where do you want to go? What are you growing into? What are you bringing forth? Also, financial reflections are part of this transit. It's a period to reconsider your spending habits, investments, and financial priorities. And I'm not saying you have to stop spending. I'm just saying what are you spending on? Is this really, do you really want to spend on that? Or is it kind of just the understanding of, well, I gotta do this because of this, that, and the other. Also, self-worth evaluation, so your personal value, self-esteem may come into focus, and that will encourage your inner growth. And last one, the funny one, it might not be so funny, but revisiting past connections. So there's always a past connection that shows up during this time in a way that we did not expect, we did not see coming, or maybe we saw it coming, maybe we thought one day we'll meet again. But you might have not seen it coming in the way it is coming. Now, like I said, encounters with your past lovers or friends are very common. It is offering you an opportunity for either renewal or full closure. And the renewal, just hear me out here, the renewal has to be a new, right? It's got to be new. It cannot just continue where you left off, because that will just end you in the same cycle. Now you got to use your discernment and see where you're at, where that person is at, and have you both grown, and can you start from that point of growth, or are you meeting again at the point where you left off? So be wise and just make sure you really understand what you're getting into. Last but not least, the retrograde in the Pisces area will be your 9th house. So that will also be Venus being around the North Node. I think for me, that also means that past lovers may show up and may try to find their way into being your new lover again, right? There's the node, the North Node. It's the North Node that Venus is going to meet, not the South Node. So there is, I think there's a big possibility of growing something new with an old person or an old partner, right? Someone from the past. It is a possibility. But again, you got to use your discernment. You can't just say, oh yeah, the North Node says I should do this again. No. The North Node doesn't say that per se. It is just like you have to see, have you grown? Have you grown, and has that person grown too? And are you meeting on a similar frequency, or do you have to adjust to each other in a way that will then, make you be out of alignment, I guess is the word, or the words. Now let's talk about Mercury retrograde. Really, all I want to say here is, we'll have 3 Mercury retrogrades. The first one is going to be in your 10th house and your 9th house. Basically, reviewing your professional life, and also your vision for life, right? Your bigger vision for life, that's going to be under review. And this is the first retrograde, March 15th to April 7th. Then the second retrograde is going to be in July 18th to 11th. And the last one, November 9th to November 29th. Now, I don't really want to go into this in detail, but just know that there is an emphasis on fire energy here. So Mercury is going to come in hot and heavy and burn through the barriers. So I would really use this time to fully understand your own fire energy, right? But like your own inner fire. Are you using it wisely? Because there's a lot of power in that, right? Pushing forward, right? Using it to push forward in life. Now, let's talk about Neptune in Aries. Now, this is a big one. This is a big one. Neptune has been in Pisces for so long. I can't even remember Neptune in any other sign. It's been forever, isn't it? It's been forever, Neptune in Pisces. But now we are on to the next. We are on to the new. We fully ended a cycle, right? The Neptune cycle fully ended with Neptune in Pisces. Now Neptune is starting again in Aries. And yes, there's going to be a quick dip back into Pisces at the end of the year for Neptune, but this ingress into Aries on March 30th is going to give you a very good indication about what the next 15 years are going to be about in your career, because this is going to be your career house, right? That's where Neptune moves into. Now, For me, Neptune in Aries is spiritual leadership. And I think for you, this is going to be translated quite literally. Spiritual leadership in your career house. So the focus, like I said, career, reputation, and Neptune here calls you to align with your career in a higher way. Let me just rephrase that. It calls you to align your career with a higher purpose. You may feel inspired to pursue work that is visionary, creative, healing. So this could relate to a lot of different areas, right? But the focus here is on leading, right? You are taking the initiative. You're leading the pack. There's going to be obviously retrogrades in here. The first one is at the end of the year. And again, this is like it goes back into Pisces. So I think you're going to finish up unfinished business in your 9th house relating to your vision for life, the bigger vision that you have for your life. Maybe it's not fully clear yet. Maybe you're still dipping in and out of like old pursuits, or things that you thought you wanted. But generally, I think you're on to the next, taking, depending on what you're doing for work, right? Maybe you're deciding to do your own thing. Maybe you're taking on a leadership role in your company. This can go many ways, but the focus is on leadership here. The next, Saturn in Aries. So after Neptune moved into Aries, Saturn will follow suit. And Saturn is, as we know, it can be sometimes a bit of a difficult feller, or we can experience Saturn energy as difficult because we are supposed to transmute that energy of Saturn. Now, for you, again, we're talking about the 10th house, and the focus is, again, career, public image, and responsibility. So with Saturn in your 10th house, you're called to take your professional life seriously. So, and that brings me back to what I said earlier, that, take charge of your career. And then within your career, you are probably asked to take charge of, people. Maybe you're going to have a manager role. Maybe you're, again, have your own business and hire people. So this is a time to define your career path and establish like a strong reputation. It may bring increased responsibility, right? Like, when you step into a manager role. But the rewards for your efforts, they can be significant. I think there might be some hoops to overcome, but you can look at it from the perspective of, this is an experience. This is helping me grow. I know often when we are in these situations that seem a little difficult, we tend not to see it that way, but try, if you can, breathe through it, right? Breathe through it. Just, whenever, challenges arise, take a moment, take a few minutes, do some deep belly breathing, ground yourself again, because this is a time where grounding is going to be very necessary. We have so much fire energy here that, we gotta ground ourselves. Like this year, there's not much earth energy in the mix. Like generally, we're moving really into the times of the focus is on fire and air. Yes, of course, the next 18 months, there's going to be a lot of water involved with Pisces energy here. But, with Uranus, which we're going to talk about Uranus in a minute, Uranus moving into Gemini, there's just like the air is going to fuel the fire even more. So grounding is really, really, really important here. Now let's talk about Uranus. Uranus moving into Gemini. Now, generally speaking, Uranus, the planet of innovation, rebellion, breakthroughs, moving into sign associated with communication, intellect, and adaptability. So this transit, I think, will bring or ignite profound shifts in how we think, how we connect, and how we innovate. The transit or the first dip into Gemini will happen on July 7th. And there will be a quick dip back into Taurus on November 8th. So we will get a little breather back into Earth at the end of the year. However, we initiated something here with that air energy. So I think, this transit for me is the most exciting of the year. Because for me, this is the evolution of consciousness. Like, this is just the next level. For you, this is going to appear in your 12th house. So with Uranus in your 12th house, it's time to explore your subconscious, like break free from those past patterns that you're still holding on to, and use this transit for spiritual growth and your inner exploration. Last but not least, probably for you, the most exciting transit of the year is going to be Jupiter moving into your sign. Jupiter coming into the first house, always the best. Jupiter in the first house, this is just 10xing your growth. There is just like all the blessings coming your way with Jupiter in the first house this year. I look at this as a time of emotional expansion. So the ingress into Cancer is on June 9th. And in October, Jupiter is going to retrograde from 13 degrees of Cancer to 6 degrees of Cancer. So we are going to stay in Cancer. There's no ingress back into Gemini. So this is all about you growing, evolving, your personal identity shifting and changing, mainly expanding. It's your time to shine, really. So your confidence soars and opportunities for personal growth are just endless. Now, like I already said, I think this is the most exciting transit for you. I will do a separate video on this transit because I think specifically for you, there's just so much in here. We get this every 13 years. So you might want to look back, what happened 13 years ago for you in your life? Like, how have you changed? What change have you undergone 13 years ago? And I think there might be the next level due, right? Like, you're going to take the next step from whatever you initiated back then. So I think also this is going to affect your whole life. This is not just affecting, one area. When we talk about the first house, we talk about the whole chart, really. We are talking about your personal identity changing and shifting, and that then reflecting in all areas of life, your relationships, your work, your friendships, your creativity, all will be affected positively during this transit. Now, that was it, my lovelies. A quick little forecast. If you have any questions, always feel free to ask and comment in the comment section. Other than that, I wish you a beautiful 2025, full of health, love, joy, growth, and happiness. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, my loves.